sky me, where brains go to broadcast.
Have you ever picked up a book, maybe a thriller or something, and you just found yourself utterly unable to put it down?
Oh, definitely.
Or maybe you've gotten instructions that were just so precise, so incredibly clear that they made something complex feel, well, suddenly manageable.
Yeah. There's a hidden force there, isn't there?
It feels like it, like a kind of secret gravity pulling you into the message, making it stick.
Exactly. And that's what separates communication that just sort of informs from communication that genuinely, impacts you.
Right.
Whether it's just a quick email or a really critical business proposal or even a story, there are these fundamental elements shaping its power.
Okay.
So today, we're going to dive deep and try to unveil those unseen forces behind writing that's truly clear and impactful.
We're talking about purpose, audience, tone, and content. I guess we could call it PATC for short.
Yeah, PATC.
Yeah.
I like it. They're like the invisible architects. They transform ordinary words into something
Yeah.
memorable.
So our mission here in this deep dive is to give you a shortcut, not just to being a more discerning reader, but a much more intentional writer too.
Right. Regardless of your field.
Yeah, exactly. We want those aha moments for you, but, without the usual information overload.
Consider this like your master key
Uh-huh.
for making every single word count. It's really about understanding the subtle mechanics behind all great communication.
Okay, let's unlock these ideas then, starting right at the foundation. Even a single paragraph. It isn't just a random jumble of words.
No, never.
There's always a strategic design, right?
Yeah.
Chunking ideas into logical, manageable pieces.
That's how we avoid overwhelming the reader.
Makes sense.
And right at the heart of that design are three core elements. They basically dictate what a paragraph covers and how it supports its main point.
Okay.
We call it the foundational triangle: purpose, tone, and audience. These three are always working together, kind of subtly shaping every word you write or read.
So, if they're that fundamental, how do they actually guide our decisions, when we're staring at a blank page or maybe a screen? What's the practical application of this triangle thing? Let's maybe zero in on purpose first. It's the big why, isn't it?
Absolutely, the core question.
Why are we putting pen to paper or, fingers to keyboard in the first place? I mean, think about it. A playwright writes to entertain.
Right.
Instructions for a babysitter. That's definitely to inform.
Clear purpose.
And a letter to, say, a member of Congress, that's usually trying to persuade. The why is like the engine driving it all.
And in, academic and professional settings, these whys generally boil down to four main missions, four key purposes.
Okay.
And they're not just for essays or term papers. They're really critical lenses for understanding any information you consume and for crafting messages that, hit their mark.
All right, lay them on us. What are these four big purposes?
Okay, first up, we have summarize.
Summarize, okay.
This is about pulling out the absolute essence of a large chunk of information and then rephrasing it. Crucially, in your own words.
Like boiling it down.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine being asked to summarize, a 200-page novel or a really complex movie plot for a friend in under a minute.
Yeah, it's tough.
You have to be ruthless, cut anything that isn't absolutely essential to the core message.
Right.
But here's the hidden challenge. Eliminating your own opinions or interpretations. Just stick to the facts. That's where a lot of people actually stumble.
Ah, I see. So it's not just about making it shorter, it's about distilling it without adding your own spin. Got it.
Precisely. Okay, next there's analyze.
Analyze.
This is where you pull something apart. You separate complex stuff into its different pieces.
Okay.
And then, this is the key part, you study how those pieces relate, or sometimes how they don't relate to each other.
So like digging deeper than just describing.
Exactly. Think less like describing a machine and more like a detective looking for patterns or maybe inconsistencies in a story. We're deconstructing documents point by point, looking for connections, implications, maybe even discrepancies. Like you might uncover why some points have strong statistical backing while others feel a bit thin, like they need more evidence. It's really about understanding the inner workings.
That's a really useful distinction. It's like identifying the gears, sure, but then figuring out how they mesh together and maybe spotting if any are missing.
You got it. Then we move to synthesize.
Synthesize. Okay, this sounds interesting.
Yeah, this is where things get really creative.
Yeah.
Because you're combining two or more distinct pieces of information
Right.
to create something entirely new. a fresh perspective maybe,
Mm-hmm.
or a novel conclusion that wasn't in either original piece. The classic analogy is the musical synthesizer, right? It blends sounds from piano, flute, guitar, whatever, to create a totally unique new sound.
I get that.
In writing, you're blending individual documents or ideas to forge a new point, maybe a new thesis, that wasn't explicitly stated in any single source you looked at.
Wait.
For instance, we've seen students take various articles on, say, underage drinking and synthesize them to form a completely new argument about prevention strategies.
So it's not just layering information on top of each other. It's genuinely creating a new idea from the existing parts. That sounds like a real communication superpower.
It really is powerful. And finally, number 4, we have evaluate.
Evaluate judging something.
Essentially, yes, judging the value or the worth of something.
Hmm.
Now, everyday evaluations, like a boss assessing an employee, they're often shaped by personal opinion or past experience.
Sure.
But academic or professional evaluation, that demands communicating your reasoned opinion with solid justification, robust justification.
So you need evidence.
Absolutely. It's about leveraging your reading, your prior knowledge, your experience to argue a point persuasively. And honestly, it often requires you to be good at summary, analysis, and synthesis all at once. It's about making a really well-supported claim.
Okay, here's a little power user hack for you listening. Whether you're dealing with school assignments or complex work briefs. Mm-hmm.
Pay really close attention to the verbs in the instructions. If you see words like summarize, analyze, synthesize, or evaluate,
Yeah.
those aren't just random words. They're basically keys, unlocking exactly what kind of thinking is expected, and often what kind of value you're supposed to add.
That is spot on. And it translates directly to the workplace, too, a factual summary. That gives your colleagues a clear overview, right?
Right.
But if your boss asks for an evaluation in a brief, that's your cue to include your informed personal opinion, backed up by solid evidence or research or compelling examples. The purpose really does dictate everything.
Okay, so we've got the why, the purpose pretty well covered. Now let's talk about the who, your audience.
Ah, yes. The invisible participant.
Exactly. Though your readers are invisible, they are definitely the silent partners in your communication. This element forces you to ask, who exactly am I talking to here?
Mm-hmm.
What do they already know? What are they expecting from this message?
Think about giving a presentation, like a business presentation.
If you're explaining, say, a new financial strategy to a board of really seasoned executives
Yeah.
versus explaining it to a group of high school students visiting for a career day.
Totally different.
Right. Your visuals, your language, the level of detail you go into, maybe even what you wear it, would all shift dramatically.
Of course.
In writing, you have to do that mentally. You visualize your audience to anticipate their expectations, gauge their level of understanding, and even predict their potential reactions.
Mm-hmm.
This active imagination fundamentally shapes your content.
It's fascinating because we actually do this instinctively all the time, don't we?
We do, yeah.
Like, when you update your status on a social media site, you're kind of subconsciously aware of who's going to read it. Is it family, friends, colleagues?
I tailor it.
You write differently for each group. Or think about work emails. You often have that sense of who might be CC'd, those potential unintended receivers, and that definitely impacts your word choice.
Let me give you a quick example to really highlight this. Imagine a student writing about her weekend community service. Okay? Here's example A. Last Saturday, I volunteered at a local hospital. The visit was fun and rewarding. I even learned how to do cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Unfortunately, I think I caught a cold from one of the patients. This week, I will rest in bed and drink plenty of clear fluids. I hope I am well by next Saturday to volunteer again.
Okay, sounds pretty standard. Maybe
Okay.
for a parent or teacher.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now compare that to example B, OMG. You won't believe this. My advisor forced me to do my community service hours at this hospital all weekend. We learned CPR, but we did it on dummies, not even real peeps. And some kid sneezed on me and got me sick. I was so bored and sniffling all weekend, I hope I don't have to go back next week. I do not want to miss the basketball tournament.
Whoa. Okay, yeah, the difference is night and day, isn't it?
Totally.
What specific things in those examples just instantly scream who each message is for? It's going to be the relationship, right? The author's assumed relationship with the reader.
Precisely. And speaking of how things look, here's a critical point we shouldn't skip. Grammar and sentence structure. They're kind of like the outfit your writing wears.
Huh, I like that analogy.
Polishing your work, using correct grammar. It doesn't just make it look professional. It actually allows your readers to focus entirely on your message. instead of getting tripped up or distracted by errors.
Good point. Makes it seamless.
So, when you're thinking about your audience, you need to dig into some specific traits. First, consider demographics.
Okay, like what?
Things like their general age range, maybe their ethnicity, religious beliefs, or gender. Now, you're never stereotyping,
Right, of course not.
but understanding general demographics helps you avoid, accidentally saying something insensitive or just.
Right.
Second, think about their education.
Level of schooling.
Yeah, level of schooling, like someone with a doctorate versus someone still in college,
Yeah.
or even their specific major or field. This helps you gauge the kind of vocabulary they'll expect and the level of formality that's appropriate.
Makes sense.
Third is prior knowledge. This is huge. What does your audience already know or maybe not know about your topic?
Okay, so tailoring the complexity.
Exactly. This helps you decide whether you need to define a term, like CPR in that example, or if you can just skip the explanation. A nursing major would presumably know more about health topics than, say, a business major. Your approach has to differ.
Got it.
And finally, number 4, expectations. What will readers actively look for when they encounter your writing?
What do you mean by that?
Well, it covers both the sort of appearance-like, expecting correct grammar,
Yeah.
maybe specific formatting, and the content itself. If they see an essay titled The Economics of Enlightenment,
Yeah.
they're probably expecting content about the financial side of college tuition costs,
Yeah.
not, a deep philosophical treatise on the Enlightenment era itself. You have to meet those content expectations.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Which brings us nicely to tone what you called the mood music of writing earlier.
Yeah, the mood music.
Just like you can instantly pick up if a friend sounds excited or sarcastic or maybe genuinely concerned on the phone, writers transmit their attitude towards the subject or even towards the reader through their words.
And that attitude is incredibly powerful because it creates connections between the audience, the author, and the subject. It ultimately forges this relationship between the reader and the text itself.
How do writers actually do that?
Well, through lots of careful choices. Sentence structure plays a big role, word choice, obviously, even punctuation, and deciding whether to be formal or informal.
Okay.
But here's the critical rule of thumb. The tone must always, always appropriately match both your audience and your purpose. Always.
Okay, let's try putting this to the test. Here's a short paragraph about wildlife conservation. As you listen, think about the writer's attitude. What tone comes through?
Okay, I'm listening.
Many species of plants and animals are disappearing right before our eyes. If we don't act fast, it might be too late to save them. Human activities, including pollution, deforestation, hunting, and overpopulation, are devastating the natural environment. Without our help, many species will not survive long enough for our children to see them in the wild. Take the tiger, for example. Today, tigers occupy just 7% of their historical range, and many local populations are already extinct. Hunted for their beautiful pelt and other body parts, the tiger population has plummeted from 100,000 in 1920 to just a few thousand. Contact your local wildlife conservation society today to find out how you can stop this terrible destruction.
Wow. Yeah, you can almost feel the urgency in that, right?
Definitely.
It's serious. It's pleading, almost. Maybe a little somber, too. That tone feels very deliberately chosen to evoke a strong emotional response, probably to spur the reader into action.
Right, and that leads us perfectly into the final piece of our communication puzzle, content.
So what?
Exactly, the actual written substance of your document. Once you've figured out your purpose and you know your audience and you've locked in the right tone, this is the material that actually goes on the page or screen.
And content covers a lot of ground. It could be examples, statistics, hard facts, but also things like compelling anecdotes, testimonies from people, or direct observations you've made. The absolute key is that every single piece of information must be appropriate and ideally interesting for that specific audience and that specific purpose.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about an essay for, say, third graders that's summarizing how laws are made.
Okay.
You wouldn't use complex legislative jargon or dense economic models, right? The content would need to be really succinct, incredibly simple, maybe use analogies they understand. It's not just about what you can say, but what you should say for this specific situation.
And this is where it all comes together, isn't it? That interplay of PATC content isn't just dumping information out there.
Not at all.
It's heavily shaped by the tone you choose. When the tone aligns perfectly with the content,
Yes.
your audience gets way more engaged,
Yeah.
and you build a much stronger, more trustworthy relationship with them. Like, you wouldn't use super academic language in a really somber tone if you were trying to explain something exciting to elementary school kids.
Absolutely not. The mismatch, The dissonance would just disconnect them instantly. Maybe we can look quickly at how content actually changes for different purposes and audiences,
Yeah.
using that financial crisis topic again.
Yeah, good idea.
Okay, so imagine you're writing for an Instigator, and your purpose is to analyze the reasons behind the 2007 financial crisis.
Okay. Analyzing for an expert.
Right. Your content would likely be factual, analytical, maybe something like, in 2000, foreign money flowed into the United States, contributing to easy credit conditions. People bought larger houses than they could afford, eventually defaulting on their loans as interest rates rose. Pretty dry, factual.
Okay, makes sense. But what if you're trying to summarize the effects of that huge $700 billion government bailout, but this time for your classmates?
Ah, okay. Different audience, different purpose. The content shifts. It might become a bit more colloquial and definitely more aware of different opinions floating around.
How so?
Maybe something like the Emergency Economic Stabilization Act, the one most of us call the humongous government bailout. Well, it caused really mixed reactions. Although a lot of political leaders supported it, the whole thing provoked outrage among grassroots groups. In their opinion, the government was basically rewarding banks for their appalling behavior. See the difference?
Yeah, definitely more opinion-aware, less formal.
Exactly. And one more. Imagine you're a professional, writing for your employer. Your purpose is to synthesize 2 different articles about how businesses can prepare for economic recovery.
Okay, synthesizing for the boss.
Right. Here, your content needs to be integrative, building new connections, it might sound like. So whereas economist Holmes argues that the financial crisis is far from over, the presidential advisor Jones points out that it's vital to catch the first wave of opportunity to increase market share. I think we can actually use elements of both experts' visions here. Let me explain how. You're creating something new from the sources.
Wow. Seeing it laid out like that really highlights how purpose, audience, and tone directly dictate the actual stuff you put on the page.
It's all interconnected.
So just to kind of wrap up our deep dive here, we've seen how effectively chunking information into logical paragraphs makes any writing easier to digest. That's kind of the surface level.
Right.
But more profoundly, you've hopefully seen how the real power and effectiveness of any message, whether it's that quick email or a major report, it doesn't just happen by accident.
No, it's intentional.
It's the direct result of that strategic interplay. Its purpose, its audience, its tone, and finally, its carefully chosen content. PATC.
And understanding these fundamental elements really empowers you. First, as a reader, you can look at things with a much more critical eye, start recognizing the deliberate choices authors are making.
Yeah, you see behind the curtain.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe even more importantly, it enables you to write with vastly greater impact. You can tailor your message precisely so it truly resonates with your intended readers and actually achieves its specific goal every single time.
So here's a final thought for you to maybe ponder. Next time you're about to write anything, could be that important email, maybe just a social media post, or a crucial report for work, just pause for a second. Ask yourself, okay, what's my real purpose here? Who exactly is my audience? What kind of tone do I want or need to convey? And then what content will best serve all 3 of those?
It's a powerful little checklist.
It really is. How might consciously considering those 4 questions transform your message from just, good enough to truly unforgettable?
Yeah.
Cascade me where brains go to broadcast. Cascade me, knowledge speaks, tuition sleeps.